Hi, first grade students. Today we are going to be starting our first art project together. Now, this worksheet of the 10 famous lines should look familiar to you because in kindergarten, we practiced all of these lines for the first time. Now that you are in first grade, all of these lines should be a review to you. So what we're going to do is we are going to go through these 10 famous lines one more time, just so I know that you remember them. And this is just going to be a really good review for you to get the year started. Once we're done with this worksheet, then we're going to start our first project using some of these lines. So I hope you're paying really close attention. So what you're going to need is the 10 famous lines worksheet and markers. If you don't have markers available to you, you can just use a pencil, you could use crayons, you could use a pen, whatever you have will work. I am going to be using markers just because it's going to make my artwork look a little bit more colorful. So like I said, this should be review to you. So I'm going to go through this pretty quickly. So I'm going to start with the straight line. The straight line is just an even line that goes straight across that first box. And I'm going to stop when I get to the end. Now, at any time, if you are having trouble drawing one of these lines, pause the video, flip your paper over, and practice first. Practice first. And then you can continue the video and then catch up. So the next line are hills. So just kind of like a wiggly line. And I'm switching colors for every line, but that's up to you. The next is a dotted line. So these are just little circles all standing in a row, kind of like ants marching. And then I have a zigzag. It's going to go up and down like the capital letter M, or like monster teeth, or like mountains. A dashed line is next. This is like the line that you would see on a road. And then a bumpy line looks like a lowercase m, or like a bunny rabbit that's kind of bouncing back and forth. Now these last four lines, these lines are probably the most challenging. So if you are struggling, like I said, just pause the video, practice a little bit, and then you'll catch up. No big deal. A castle line is a straight line, then it goes up, a straight line, and then down. Straight line, up, straight line, down. And that pattern just repeats itself. Once that's done, put the lid on, and then go to the next line. This one is a loopy line, a loopy line. This should look like the loops on a roller coaster. And then spiral is a circle almost, but it keeps going. And this will be easier for you if you use the tippy top of the marker. If you use the side like this, you're not going to be able to get as many spirals going around and around. The side of the marker is just too thick for that. Okay. Make sure when you're putting your markers away that you hear that click. That's how you know that the marker is totally sealed. You want to keep your markers nice and fresh because we're going to be using them all year long. So you want to take care of your markers. Next are mouse ears. So it's a straight line and then a little bump, like a little hill. Straight line and then a little bump. So I'm all done with my worksheet. Like I said before, this should all be review to you. So if you struggled with any of this, please flip your paper over and practice. The next thing we are going to do is we are going to be starting our project. So you are going to need a blank piece of white paper, your markers, a pencil, and if you have a Sharpie, that would be great. If you don't have a Sharpie, you can just use a black washable marker. So in the corner of my paper, I am going to add either a star or a heart in the corner of my paper. We're just going to keep it really simple for this first project. I don't want my shape to be super big, but I also don't want my shape to be super itty bitty teeny tiny. You want it to be a nice medium size. So I'm going to start over here in the corner and I'm going to draw a heart. And I am starting with Sharpie first, but you will start with pencil. Just in case you make a mistake, then you can erase. And don't forget, you always have the back side to your paper. Now, we want to make the star or the heart look like it's moving, kind of like it's shooting out of the sky. So what we're going to do is we are going to use 5 of these lines. How many are we using? 5. Yes, we're using 5 of these famous lines. So I'm going to pick out my 5 favorite lines and I'm going to draw it coming out of my heart or the star. So I'm just going to start with a straight line first. And it's going to go all the way to the edge of my paper. So I can take that one off of my list. I don't need that one anymore. I've already used it. Next, maybe I'm going to do a loopy line. A loopy line. And again, it's going to go all the way to the bottom of your page. And then maybe I'm going to do a dashed line. And then maybe a zigzag line. So that's 4 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4. I need one more. One more. So I think I'm going to do a bouncing line, like a bumpy line. Okay, so I have my 5 lines done. Once you have that done with pencil, trace with your Sharpie so it shows up. Once you have this done, then you are going to take your markers and you are going to very carefully use the side of your marker to trace on top or next to those black lines. So I'm using the side of my marker so I get a nice thick line. Switch colors because remember, we want this to be really colorful. And I'm going to trace right on top of those lines. Just like that. And that marker was not very good, so I'm going to throw that away. Once you're done, you should have a paper that looks just like this. So I've got everything outlined. Now, I'm going to give you 2 choices. So I hope you're watching. I'm going to give you 2 choices. To color this in, you can either color these spaces in using crayon, or I'm going to show you a trick that you can use with just a paintbrush and water. So if you're at home, you get to choose between coloring it or painting it. So I'm going to show you both ways. If I am coloring it with crayon, I'm just going to get my crayons out and I'm just going to pick a color and I'm going to color in the heart. And remember, when we color up and down or side to side. No white spaces. No white spaces. Take your time. So now that the heart's colored in, I'm going to color in this little first area right here. So I'm just going to pick a color and I'm going to fill it in. Now, I'm not going to do this whole thing because I want you to have time to do your own. And then I'm going to switch colors and then color in the next space. Okay, once you have all of this colored in, that's where I want you to stop. And then that's where we're going to finish and upload a picture of our artwork and put it in Seesaw. So that's option number 1. Okay, so I'm going to put that to the side. Option number 2 is the paint trick that I'm going to show you. So you just need a cup of water and a paintbrush. That's it. Now, since we used washable markers, you can take your paintbrush and you just run it next to those thick marker lines. And then that should wake up that marker, and it should almost act like watercolors for you. You don't need a ton of water, because if you get too much water, well, then your paper could rip. Okay, so I'm going to kind of tilt it to the side a little bit. Looks like there's a glare. So you can see that it works a lot better. I'm going to wash my brush, and then I'm going to go to the next shape, or the next line, sorry, and just kind of trace over it with my paintbrush. And then I'm going to switch colors. So I washed my brush. Go to the next line. Now, some of these colors, you might not want them to mix because they might not make very pretty colors. So try to leave a little bit of white space in between. Almost done here. Last one. Now yours will look a lot neater than mine. I'm just going quickly. You can take your time. Okay, I'm all done. So I'm going to take a picture of it and then upload it into Seesaw. So I look forward to seeing your artwork. The worksheet you do not need to take a picture of. You can just keep that. Okay, I just need a picture of your finished artwork. So good luck.